Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet?
I love people as I meet them one by one. People are just wonderful as individuals. You see the whole...
My great aspiration, my greatest ambition is to be so good. Now, in that way, I'm tiresome, as I suppose, to live with, because I want to be a fantastic human being.
I am the greatest. We're not disputing that, Cassius, but how does Sonny Liston feel about it? He can't feel but one way, and let's take everything I say and like it. Because February the 25th, I'm going to take back my job. I'm the champ. He's no champ. He's a tramp.
When you see men fall, don't laugh. Learn. Learn. Because you're on your way up. And the things that tempt people to fall, you and I are not free from that temptation.
By examining his own attitude towards the possibilities of peace, towards the Soviet Union, towards the course of the Cold War.
Art muscle. It was a way of making me feel that they were a part of me.
You see it on the bridge. Wait, how they get it? If the government had to change the screw in the bridge, they had to shut it down. They got state troopers out there. They got lanes closed. They got their strange machines. How did they get up there?
What's going on, YouTube? Peace and blessings. Happy hump day. You know what time it is. Sydney, good evening. How are you?
I'm good. Today is my son's 4th birthday. So it's been a nice day. He's actually currently asleep, but yeah. He's 4 today, and then my daughter is gonna be 2 next week. So lots of birthdays in the past couple weeks.
That's what's up. Send a happy birthday on my behalf.
Absolutely.
How's everything? How's the week going?
Not too bad. For viewers that didn't see yesterday, my husband got home yesterday as a surprise. He'd been overseas for a bit, so we've just been enjoying him being back finally. So that's really been the biggest update, is that now we're back together, and we're back in our old routine. So I've been enjoying that. My kids have definitely been enjoying that, having their dad back. And yeah, he has the week off, the remainder of the week off. So we've been able to just kind of treat this like a vacation.
Nice. Had to get them names up there real quick. My apologies.
No.
Well, you know why we're here. I did get a chance to watch that video. This is going to be an interesting one. I'm not really too familiar with the whole ballot thing, but I know a lot of people were pissed off when elections were around. I even got into it with somebody on TikTok over Kamala Harris, but it wasn't because of this. But seeing as how you brought it to my attention, I'm like, all right, well, let's talk about it. So I turn it over to you.
All right. So, to give a little background on the clip, they've recently, I believe it was this finding was published either yesterday or the day before that, so it's only been a couple days. But they found out in the 2024 election that that there was software issues. There were glitches within the voting machines as early as 2024, even before the election was ongoing. That as soon as they released this new version, these updates, they started to have problems come in. And what the thing that they found specifically was that counties that would have traditionally voted for Kamala Harris received no votes for her at all. And so that to them was an indicator that something was amiss with the election system. They also found in certain areas from the beginning that they were saying the ballots didn't match the official results. One that they mentioned in this article is Rockland County, New York. They said several voters testified under oath that their ballots didn't actually match the official results. One of the candidates also had lost votes in multiple precincts during that voting time period. There are voters that are claiming that they voted for people that their votes don't actually reflect that they voted for that. There are some that swear they voted, but their results aren't showing up. And in some places, they found in their investigation that Kamala Harris's name wasn't even on the top of the ballot. Some of them couldn't find her name at all on the ballot. And as I said, some places that were highly Democratic had no votes for Harris at all, which is statistically pretty significant of an observation. And then let's see. Another aspect is there was a discrepancy between the number of votes that Trump got in comparison to all previous elections, and the percentages just did not match what was expected for the districts based on their predictions, and the proportions of the populations that were voting didn't match the numbers that were showing up. So honestly, I'm not surprised at all. This has been something I've kind of been waiting for. I know a lot of people have differing opinions, but to me, this whole election just seemed fishy from the beginning. I mean, honestly, from both sides, not just with Trump, but it just seemed very off this year. And it has seemed like it's been kind of drifting towards going wrong for quite some time. But it will definitely, if this is actually true and and they actually have genuine evidence to support this finding, this is definitely going to be a game changer. I don't think that it's going to actually change the results of this election. I don't think that it will lead to the removal of a certain somebody from office because I think we're kind of a bit too far in for them to kind of reverse it like that. But I can surely say this is going to change future elections. And it potentially could impact the movement to remove him from office. But I don't think it's going to cause him to be removed from office, but it could build more support. I also am a bit nervous that it could cause more infighting, where now it's just going to be seen as an attack from one side to the other, and it'll be used as kind of like a distraction from everything else that's happening. That's my one concern from this, besides the obvious fact that the whole election was tampered with, if this is true. But yeah, I can't say I'm shell shocked. It's something that has been kind of a long time coming. Our patterns are statistically more and more likely over time, or at least parts of a pattern become more likely. And we've been getting to the point where something like this was bound to happen, especially with our increased dependence on digital services and electronic voting and stuff like that. So I'm not surprised that we're having voting issues as a result. But yeah, very, very juicy information. I'm very curious to see how this turns out, how deep it goes, who potentially is connected to this. Part of me wonders if Trump even, I mean, my guess is yes, but part of me wonders if he even has anything to do with this, or if this was even external to him and they just happened to use it to help him. But I guess time will tell, hopefully, as long as the information isn't hidden from the public. But I feel like this might be a bit too hard to hide, especially with how flagrant and upset most people were after this past election.
Is anyone really surprised? Like, come on, man.
You shouldn't be.
That man should have been in jail a long time ago. The fact that he isn't already told me that the path that we are on is not a very pleasant one. Basically, you're taunting us in our face. And you know, a lot of people don't get involved in politics, so they don't really know what's going on. But in terms of the mechanics and the operations, I need to understand, if it's possible, to show me exactly how you can have such a flawed system where you're actually responsible for the fate of the country, and you leave it in the hands of a faulty machine that just kind of abruptly has issues within its system. How convenient is, and I even will say it's probably happened way before this too. I don't even think it just started with her. I think it's already been going on, and you know, you have a million different people who probably have conversations like this, but nobody knows about it, and they haven't heard about it until just now. Like, I was today years old when I seen that video, but I always thought they tampered with that stuff anyway. But to hear from somebody else as direct as they were, that's different. My side of the internet don't discuss things like that. which is a problem. More people should care about it, but they don't. But you will.
Well, there's too much else to care about, like Kanye West's name change and new music.
Yeah, I know, right? See, I don't. The reason why I don't speak on it like that is because I'm not really deep into it as much as some people are. I wouldn't even try to embarrass myself talking policies and all that shit because I'm limited to what I know. That's on my half though. Like I ain't putting that on no one else. I could read up on articles and I could do the studying and all that. I could do that, but I'm like my mind is everywhere else, bills and trying to make sure that I keep a roof over my head and my lights on and so do you really think this is going to get the traction that it should?
Wishful thinking, yes. I pray that this is what we need to shut down everything that's been happening, but my my knowledge of how these types of things usually go doesn't give me a lot of hope. Um, I think that this whole regime will probably go down in all other manners. But I would hope that this would bring awareness. But as I said earlier, I am more inclined to believe this is just going to cause more infighting, more people to not be able to pick a side, or at least the people that are so staunchly attached to their side can't see past the behaviors, for lack of a better, or for to use a nicer term. Um, I think at this point, if people are willing to go along for the ride put on by the other side, they probably don't really care to pay attention. They're probably a bit past that point, or they're just like not argumentative. Like they like being controversial. I don't know. I find it hard to believe that people are seriously supporting him. I feel like the remainder of the people that are supporting him are just like anarchists and they want to see the world burn. If you could still support him. But what was the question? I kind of went off on a tangent in my head. Yeah, I don't think this is really going to amount to anything, unfortunately. As much as I said, as much as I want it to, we're so divisive right now. I don't think this is something people are going to come together on unless there's like very glaringly obvious proof. But even then, there's still too many rabid supporters of him, and it's not really possible to get through to them with logic, sadly.
Yeah, as much as I see these fools arguing online all day, you can put that right there in their face in bold colors. It's not going to change. I hate that too. It really does bother me. I mean, I'd be pissed off. And I'm sorry to say this. Not sorry to say this. I've only voted one time my entire adult life, once, and Obama won, but I'd be pissed if I was in any of those places, there wasn't no Kamala Harris. I'm looking, all right, time for me to vote, or you just magically made it disappear, and or I cast my vote, but it didn't show up. So you telling me my vote matters, but it really doesn't. How do you live with that? How am I supposed? How am I supposed to just take that though?
It would definitely make me question past elections as well. Like it would make me think, were my votes ever counted?
Right, exactly my point. That's one of the main reasons why I never cared for it is because I just didn't trust it. I don't have faith in a lot of humans, especially the ones in positions of power like they are. Because I learned from a young age that everybody is out for themselves. It's either you got it, supply and demand, and if you got the demand or the supply, then you are somebody. If you don't have it, we're not checking for you. And people from where I'm at, the system is no different. It's just on a small scale. You got the drug, we got the cash. You sick or you need food stamps or whatever, you trying to find a way to buy this without having to use actual green cash, holler at me. I got some of that for you. It's all different, but it's the same thing. And when I looked at the neighborhood drug dealers and I'm like, well, shit, they ain't no better or no worse than the government. So I just never cared for it. I always thought they were lying to us. I always thought that the media was just putting out specific things to scare us or to drive us to do the opposite of what we should be doing. Uh, I never really had too much faith in the voting system. People were like, man, if you don't vote, you just as guilty as the ones who voted for Trump, or you just as guilty as the one that voted for the. I beg to differ. My my vote or lack of is not going to do nothing. Well, look, I'm not trying to discourage nobody. I'm just giving you my opinion. Because once I seen that video, I'm like, well, that just kind of confirms to me what I already felt was happening anyway. But my vote matters and all that. Man, get out of here with that. Nobody trying to hear that shit.
Cut it out.
For real. But I'm gonna say this, and I'll turn it over. At least the conversation is open for it. Whether or not people want to hear it or not, at least we said something. Do I think people are going to do more about this? It might. We might see a little change. I don't think it's going to be a marginally large change, but I do see a little. Hey, you.
I think it might kind of do both, in the sense that it might awaken some people where they're like, oh, this is happening. Wow, maybe I do have to care, because I noticed that, or I mean, it's not even something that I noticed. This is a poll. Trump's second election was the lowest voter turnout of any election we've ever had. And so it wasn't even the percentage of people voting for Trump that helped him win. It was the fact that I think it was like 250,000 people didn't even show up to vote or something. Let me see. And then also, we do lose percentages of voters to third-party candidates. To me, like, I have mixed feelings about it because, I mean, you should be able to vote for whoever you think is a better fit, and if you don't think the main candidates are a good fit, then that's something you have to figure out. But third-party candidates do really feel like a throwaway to me. I know they're not, but it really does seem like it. At least it did in this election. If you didn't want Trump, some people picked a third party, and I don't think that really had a huge impact, but it was still something that I remember it bugged me at the time. It's like, I guess we didn't really know what was at stake at the time, but yeah. Let me see if I can find.
I don't think people don't know. I think they just don't really care, or it's not something that's directly in their face to the point to where they feel pressured to care enough. Because, like, I'm watching Iran, Iraq, the Palestinians, I'm watching them all get bombed from a distance. I'm watching sparks and bullets light up the sky at night, watching missiles fly into these locations all out there. They're on their camera phone recording, and I'm watching this from thousands of miles away. It don't really affect me the same way, but it's happening in real time. I think it's the same. It's just the same way here.
So it looks like about for an estimated 40 to 60% of eligible voters did not vote in the 2024 election. So that's a pretty substantial deal. About half of the people that could have voted did not vote. So I could see how that would have an impact on this election.
You got them, and you got the people that's voting for third parties. That would have probably been my thing too. Really, like, I wasn't going to vote for Trump or Kamala Harris. I would have probably did the same thing if I was forced to. I wouldn't have won with either. That just goes to show a lot of us don't have faith in our people as much as we would like to make it look like on social media and on TV, with these flags flying high and these soldiers walking up and down the street. That don't really mean nothing to me if what I see don't equal out to what you're talking about for 15, 20, 30 minutes. So is there any significance to it? Do we care about the ballots anymore? Are they going to start holding people accountable for what's going on here?
Well, we should care. We should do something about it. We should create barriers that prevent this from happening in the future. But do I think we will? Not as much. I mean, maybe if there's a huge push from the community, from the public, you might see something happening with this, but I don't think it's going to affect this election. I also would be hard pressed to believe it would even affect this coming election. I think it would really have a greater impact on 2028 and beyond, and how elections are conducted. I would not be surprised if it bans third-party involvement in the ballot process. I can't imagine how they do that. They might have to create some sort of like government group that kind of does what the ballot people used to do. But yeah, I don't think anything's going to happen, especially with the type of people we currently have running things. They seem to not want the elections to be fair and balanced. So I imagine they're going to make sure that the future continues to favor their ideologies. So I really don't see anything concrete happening with that. I guess best case scenario will be an example for other places of what not to do. Canada and Mexico can use us as the bad don't be like them story to improve their own.
It's going to take something dramatic, extremely dramatic, to make people get out of their house and go down there. I'm thinking about how the investigation process is going to go. When they gather all their findings, they find out if there were real malfunctions. There was some thing. I wish I could have played the video, because what they were talking about was kind of describing creating a I can't even think of the word. They was cooking though. And you don't really know how important this stuff is until they start pushing their agendas and it actually works. It starts actually affecting your house and your neighborhood. I don't know about you. I don't like being lied to. I don't like being lied to. Don't make promises you can't keep. Don't take a position that you're not willing to be honorable for. But I guess that's unavoidable. People tampering with your information, people tampering with your job, people tampering with the livelihoods of millions and millions of people. On a smaller scale, if you're in a company like Amazon, people hate Amazon because they don't treat their workers fairly. The undercut is it's so much corruption out here. How do you convince America that their votes matter? You should go down here and do this and do that, when you see something like this and it's like Sydney, you telling me my vote matter? I should go ahead and do it, but I'm like, well, that sounds good in theory, but the fuck, we keep on getting the same bozos in office. It's frustrating. It makes you not even want to be bothered with it.
You're telling me. I'm right there with you. That is something I've always been quite frustrated with, especially because this type of decline causes people to become more apathetic, which is the opposite of what we need. We need people to care more and be more angry and be more involved. But instead, people are like, oh, my vote doesn't matter. I'm out. I'm not participating. I'm like, and that is how you lose democracy. That is exactly how you deflate the value of your vote, is you check out. You choose not to participate because democracy sadly only works when everybody participates and everybody seizes an equal vote. But clearly they've I strongly believe that the groups leading this movement are trying to disenfranchise the American voter and is trying to make us think this. I really think that they're part of the reason why they chose who they did was because they knew that it would kill the confidence of the American people to have somebody so flagrantly idiotic and incapable in office is going to make people feel so helpless that they don't want to participate anymore. They don't want to pay attention. And I think that is the ulterior motive. I think that's really what they're trying to do, because when you steal the faith of an entire country, you've stolen the country from them right out from under their noses. And I find it hard to believe that a certain somebody was the mastermind behind all of this. I really think that he was just a figurehead used by a different group that's trying to infiltrate using the political system. And he is just a talking head. And that was something that I remember talking to people about when the election first happened. Why did she not win? And why did he win over her? And I think part of it was that disenfranchisement, like the belief that whatever you do is not going to make a difference. If you have when you have that belief system and you have a lackluster candidate, it's going to be very hard to motivate anybody to vote, because you're combining I already don't care with nobody even is appealing to me. It's kind of the same idea as, oh, I'm hungry, but you don't have any like food that you like in the house. Nothing really stands out to you. So you're like, I don't even care if I eat or not. And I think that's kind of what kind of energy we're seeing right now, where we have a lot of people that are just so sick and tired of it all. They don't like any of the options. They don't want to proceed with any person put forward, and none of them offer any qualities that they think are redeeming. And so through that, we lose voters because they care so little. There's no effort made at all. They're not going to participate. They're not going to pay attention. They're not going to listen. And half-assed listening is just as bad as believing the lies that are put forward. Because you remove scrutiny, you remove that critical thinking aspect. Because once you're turned off to both sides, you're just not going to engage at all.
It sounds like me. And that I know that's not really helping. It's I don't know if it's more or less frustration because I know what's going on ain't right, but there's only but so much I can do, or it's just I make an attempt to do something, but enough people don't care enough, and we just keep on going down this same street over and over and over again, and I'm getting tired of reruns. Whether or not you wanted Trump or wanted Kamala, in my honest opinion, neither one of them should have been running. We there's plenty of people out here that would have been better fits, but we didn't know enough about them to invest. And so here we are with all these anonymous uploads from the guy with the V from Vendetta Mask. Shout out to him because I got my collection. But he pop up and he talk his stuff. You got people arguing on Twitter about Trump and Elon and all. It's like, well, shit. I look at this as like there are 12,000 views, 2.3 million views, and 53,000 comments. All these comments, where were y'all at when we were trying to get the right person in office?
I remember a lot of people saying that about Kamala, where they're like, I would have voted Democrat, but I don't really like her either. I don't remember who's.
You hit mute. You hit mute. You hit mute.
Whoops, my bad. Part of the problem that one of my favorite political commentators, I don't remember which one it was, but something he pointed out when Kamala was running was her stance when she was running was kind of like, I'm just gonna agree with everything he's saying, kind of like, oh yeah, me too. Oh, you're gonna do that? Oh yeah, us too. Oh, you want to build a wall? Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. And she kind of, I don't think she was doing it seriously. I really think that it was solely a ploy to, I don't know, like a combination of like exposing him for how he is, like in an effort to be like, this is who you're voting for. Like, you're voting for somebody who doesn't really care about their views, and we're going to show it by like doing the same thing, if that makes sense. And I also think that they were doing it because, again, there isn't really a solid Democratic platform anymore, because it seems like even within the Democratic community, there's still a wide disagreement between the groups of people. As much as I dislike their opinions, at least the Republican side is cohesively anti the same groups of people. I think that was partially where they went wrong, where they, right out of the gate, by trying to capture everybody, they refused to take a stance on anything. It kind of reminds me of this quote, if you stand for everything, you'll fall for everything. Or if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for everything, something like that. and it was that's kind of what it felt like, where they were so focused on just like capturing every person that they could, that they didn't really have a solid actual plan. And as much as it was built on hatred and getting all of the undesirables out of this country, legal or not, they at least had a plan, and they at least had a solid, here's what we're going to be doing, here are the steps we're going to take, here's what the money might look like. Like, they had something solid that people could point to and be like, oh, okay, so this is what you're going to be doing. And so I think that's this is under the idea that the election wasn't stolen, but that's why I think he captured a lot of voters, is he actually had a concrete plan and wasn't just saying, oh yeah, I'm going to do that too, I'm going to do that too. He at least had a platform to stand on, which it didn't feel like the Democrats did. And it also kind of seemed like they were throwing eggs at a wall to see what would stick. So yeah, I think that's kind of why they failed to capture the voters, because they didn't really capture the imagination, and they didn't really give people something to look at and say, this is what your America could look like. They were more so going after what the Trump America would look like. And I think we're so used to that back and forth in the media, where one side is just disparaging the other, that we're so numb to it. Whenever we hear somebody attacking the other person, bashing somebody else's ideas, I don't think we even really pay attention anymore, because we're just kind of like, yeah, there we go again. There's more arguing. Like, we're not even really paying attention to the points. We're just, it almost seems like we're paying more attention to who's more emphatic, like who has more emotion behind them, rather than the words that they actually say. So in the future, any person that either side chooses, they really need to have a very solid understanding of what their plan is, because it seems like that's one of the things that makes a candidate enticing. That, and the ability to deeply connect with, to connect with the deepest needs of Americans. And I think that's also what Trump appeared to do at the beginning with all of his shouting and talking and blabbering. He managed to at least connect with a lot of the Americans that have, over the years, felt like nobody has listened to them, that are sick and tired of the candidates that say they're going to fix things and say they're going to help and never, ever do anything. So I forgot the original point of this tangent, but I think Trump definitely was able to pull the energy more than she was.
Slightly, but not by much. It was just kind of like, okay. Hey.
Hi. No, so of course I'm like listening. I can't, when I'm in the house, if I log on, we echo off of each other. So I can't. Anyways, I was listening. I think there's a couple of things that there's a different perspective from, and it's nothing obviously against Sydney, but I think what people often don't realize when we talk about Kamala and we talk about Trump, he's going to have the license to say things and do things and get away with it. Mm-hmm. But as a Black woman, if we show any strength, we're considered emasculated, or we're the angry Black woman, and they love to make us the angry Black woman. There are things that they had that Dems were writing into policy and that were being copied. We know the Republicans don't have a plan. They never had one. Their plan was to give to the rich. So when we're doing that also, we were already going to do that stuff. But mostly, one thing that and this is the example that I use most often, when Kamala had to debate Mike Pence, People were complaining about her smiling. And I said, she has to, because if she doesn't, she's going to be written off as the angry black woman. Case in point, there were 2 sheriffs as well as Stacey Abrams that were running for positions in other states. And they were very, very factual. They stayed on the facts. They were qualified. They were far more qualified than the white male counterparts. But when they were on their facts, they were very strong points. And they were labeled angry black women. And they lost those elections. And so we have to walk a fine line, especially when it's against a white man. And even people who don't think that they are misogynist consciously, subconsciously don't like it if we come across too strong or what is considered too strong. And so for her, she didn't have the license. I mean, I thought she went not too far. I thought she went exactly where she needed to with their debate. Yeah, she stood on that line during their debate. But there were still people who saw it as her being bad to him. Meanwhile, we've heard and seen all the things he says, but she was still painted as this mean person that went after him.
Even with the Democratic sided people, they went after her ideas far more than they went after the things.
Because we don't get the pass. The pass it's a very, very fine line, and especially if you're in a position of power. Like I know. Obviously, I wasn't in politics, but I know from having to train surgeons from throughout the U.S., not being a surgeon, but having to train them with our device, the fine line I even had to walk. And for me, I would just use their own information to sway them or to help them understand that this is your mistake because you did not do what you were instructed to do. And when you do this, what is this outcome? What can you expect with this outcome? Those are the numbers. The numbers don't lie. This is what you did. This is what you got. Let's talk this through so I can help you. But even so, I had a few offices where they didn't want me back. The surgeon didn't want me back in the office. Like I got kicked out because he didn't physically kick me out. It's just they called our device company and said that they didn't want me there because I was mean. But they were trying to do something that was contraindicated. So if I allowed them to do what it was they wanted to do and the patient was injured, then we would be sued for that. And it's not even the lawsuit. It's the fact that I'm not going to let you injure a patient because you want to do what you want to do. And so for me, I didn't care. I was as respectful as I could be, but there was a line in the sand. And if that line was going to be where you are going to harm a patient, then I'm not going to allow it. And I'm going to tell you, if this is what you are going to do, I am not the surgeon, so I cannot tell you what to do. But what I can do is not be in that OR suite when you do it so that we are not held accountable for it. So you can decide what you want to do. If you want to follow the protocols, I'm happy to help you. But if you decide you want to go with what you feel is best, then I cannot be present in that operating room, which basically means you can't do surgery on this patient because you haven't done enough surgeries for us to sign off. So it was, but it's a tough place to be. And it's we saw her face on certain things, and she was saying way more than she said with her mouth, and we all knew what it meant. But it's that pass that he gets that we don't get. Like we love Jasmine because she doesn't care about the packs. Like she'll say what she wants to say because she already knows she's being judged. It doesn't make a difference. Like if you were as Kamala, because of the level of power that she was seeking to rise to, she's walking a tightrope. And it's like, and neither one of them are perfect because no one is, but she was way more the lesser of two evils. And so it was like, and she was far more intelligent, but all of that got watered down, and she even had to dumb some things down. And so I was listening and I was like, oh, I can't sit through that. It's like, I know what that's like to be in that position of authority where you're trying to convince people that what you're showing them and what you have is going to be better for everyone overall. And someone else is saying something crazy because they have quote unquote experience or backing or whatever the case may be. When you put the numbers together, apples still come out apples. But for them, they want to give you a pear, an apple, and a banana and tell you you're still going to get an apple. And so and people believe it, as we see. So
it also probably didn't help her to be overshadowed, I guess, by Biden.
Right.
Because I know that they kept bringing that back.
Right. And she, as if she was the actual president. It's like, I mean, look at it. If we look at it right now, where's JD Vance? What has JD Vance done? What is JD? Nothing, because that's what the vice president, well, he killed the Pope. We know that. But it's like, but that's what the vice president does. So it's like, why are you acting like she was the acting president? And so she had to kind of walk that rope as well without flat out saying, you realize I wasn't the president, right? Any more than you were. Right. So it's, so it just, for me, there's always that, there's probably a chip, I would say, only because I have to walk that line, or I've had to walk it, but not in the sense, not in the sense that I think I'm less than and I have something to prove, because I don't think I have something to prove, but I know others do that have opinions and have influence on those outcomes. So that would be my take on that. So
you have fans.
Wow. I'm like, oh, heck no, I gotta say something. All right, I'm going back in the room. I'm working on something. Okay. Thanks for letting me talk.
Always love the cameos, man. Shout outs. Yeah, it's a lot. It really is. We got a voice. We just got to make it more vocal.
Mm-hmm. Bring up that volume and frequency.
What do you suggest moving forward? I mean, it's a small step, but a step is a step. I mean, we see what's happening.
The biggest things, participate. Pay attention and participate. You have to read the laws that they're proposing. You have to know who the people you're voting for are, and don't, like, a lot of people just do the presidential elections. Don't forget about midterms. Don't forget about voting for your senators, for your Congress people, for mayor elections and city official elections, because those people matter too. Those are the stepping stones to the higher up positions. And so we need to be picking every single person that is running our country, that is running our communities, that is having control over the funds that go to the working Americans. We, I think, have forgotten how powerful even the little guys can be, and how they can, most of the people that we know today that are their names are very well known, have worked their way up through the ranks. They started off as a school, school board, and then they were mayor and whatever. So you want to vote for all of these small people to understand who is coming in to these political circles. What organizations are they linked with? What people are giving them money? Where have they previously worked? Where are they investing their money? There's so many things that you want to pay attention to, because they will tell you what their beliefs actually are. Because they can tell the camera, they can tell you, stand by a podium and tell you that they care about the LGBT community, and that they care about children, that they care about schools, but then they'll turn around and revoke all the funding that all of these groups of people need. So you have to pay attention to their actions and not their words. Look at previous policies that they voted for, things that they supported. Look at, where do they show up? What type of galas and fundraisers do they show up for? Are they showing up for the local schools, or are they showing up for the rich, fancy CEOs of tech companies or something? Like, look at their actions, because that will tell you far more than what their words will tell you. Also, as I said, being aware of the laws that are being voted in, paying attention to the rhetoric that they're using, and what types of policies they're pushing through. Because what a lot of people don't realize is they might be pushing for one law, but then it's hiding a bunch of other laws that are embedded into that law, just like that big beautiful bill that was passed recently, that contained some stuff about funding, but a whole bunch of other stuff about taking away programs for people. It hid changing regulations for people based on their like whether they're married, whether they're male or female, whether or not they've had like they will hide things, embed things into bills with the knowledge that people are not going to actually read them. And so you're going to read it and think you're voting for something. And then you're going to find out later that you actually voted against the very thing that you thought you were voting for. They use word salad. They use all sorts of writing changes to make it as confusing, as long-winded, as complicated as possible. Because if you don't read the laws, if you make the laws as complicated as possible to understand, it makes it much, much easier to take away people's rights. And that's exactly what they're doing right now, is they're trying to pass laws that are removing our rights, that are removing our funding, that are removing all of our programs that have supported us for generations. And they're doing it by hiding it in bills that people don't read. They're hiding it by putting it in smaller elections that people don't vote for and don't pay attention to. So what we have to do is we have to start paying attention. You have to start reading these things. You have to start paying attention to what is being proposed, what is being voted for. And if you start seeing things that you don't like that are taking away things that people need, call your senators, call your congresspeople. Call them over and over and over, because if they're getting calls, the quote is, if they're getting 100 angry callers, there's 1,000 angry voters, and they don't like angry voters. The smaller level politicians, they do care about your vote because the margins are far slimmer, and they do actually care. If they're starting to get flooded with thousands of calls over something, they're going to hit a breaking point, and they're more likely to do something than a president that is not affected by these things. So you have to stay on top of what is being passed, and you have to support the smaller people, understand who is being supported, and vote for those that actually support small individuals, small businesses, and schools, and aren't happy to sell their soul to the highest bidder, which is currently what we have a lot of right now. And then lastly, for the love of God, don't watch Fox News. Get your media from other people that are willing to provide facts. There are a lot of bigger name news sources that are not good. Start investigating the news sources that you're getting your information from. I know Ground News, I think, is the one that allows you to compare different sites based on their political leanings, and you can compare perspectives and stuff. That one's a good resource if you're new. You can also, what I do is I'll just read as many of the articles on certain issues as I can find and just do the comparisons myself to kind of figure out what are the differences, why a certain group might lean more towards one way than the other, just to kind of understand why somebody might be promoting a certain idea. Because in today's day and age, we have to remember that people aren't just people anymore, like politicians in what I mean. They are backed by companies. They're backed by corporations. They're backed by like unions and stuff like that. And those are really the best ways to figure out like where they're actually leaning. Where they spend their time is usually who they're going to care about. So try and find and support those candidates that seek out ways to reach the average normal people. Don't support people that are taking handouts from big business and big pharma and stuff like that, because they're far less likely to actually care about you. So yeah, pay attention to who you're voting for, read about what you're voting for, and make sure you check the sources of all of those individuals that you're getting your information from to make sure that you have the most accurate and least biased information. A couple names that I'll throw out, at least on YouTube. Midas Touch is a phenomenal source of information. I also like Status Quo, and David Pakman is another one. There are a lot of fantastic non-news type reporters online. Honestly, at this point, I would suggest those over mainstream media, because at this point, mainstream media is very, very funded by alternative sources. But yeah, be aware, be alert, and don't give away your freedoms up front. Stay voting, stay paying attention, because that's what matters. And then technically unrelated, but still very applicable. If you don't like who's running this country, if you don't like the policies that they're promoting and passing and laws that they're enacting, boycott, protest, show with your dollar that you do not support them, because that is one of the remaining ways that we can really make them hurt if we don't like their policies. Because that is the one sole benefit of them being able to be sponsored, is that with your dollar, with who you support, you can put many of these types of organizations out of business just by not supporting them. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Couldn't have said it any better. Shout out, Sydney. Shout out to the people in the building. Shout out to our cameo. If y'all ain't familiar with her, y'all need to go run the tapes back. We've had many of amazing discussions up here. I have nothing else to add to it. I think you said everything that I wanted to say or I was thinking. Let the people know how they can find you if they want to keep in contact.
So for anyone that is interested in my poetry work, that's mostly what I do. I am on All Poetry under the Science Squid Poetry. Also, I finally got earrings with my nickname. I also am on Blue Sky under the same name, the Science Squid Poetry. That one is mostly my political content. So if you are interested in topics like the one today, Blue Sky would be a good source. I also like to share news information about everything that's happening. So if you want access to articles and videos that, to the best of my ability, reflect what's happening in today's world, that's a source that you can use. And then other than that, I am here on Monday through Wednesday, as well as on Fridays. And I have a Discord if you're interested in being part of our poetry community. Yeah, other than that, the best place to find me is here. And if you want to get in contact with me further, you're more than welcome to reach out for my email. I also do art. If you ever wanted to commission art, I also do that. I make animals out of pipe cleaners. But yeah, the Science Squid Poetry, or name on screen.
Blessings to you, to the fam.
Thank you.
Glad everybody's back together, man. To everybody that's watching, have a blessed evening. I'll be back tomorrow. I might pull a double we'll see. But I'm definitely going to be active. So be on the lookout. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Talk to you guys later. Do me a solid before y'all go too, if you don't mind.
Push the goddamn button. Push the goddamn button.
Dude, I love that button, man. Y'all be easy though, all right?
By examining his own attitude towards the possibilities of peace, towards the Soviet Union, towards the course of the Cold War.
Art muscle. It was a way of making me feel that they were a part of me.
You see it on the bridge. Wait, how they get it? If the government had to change the screw in the bridge, they had to shut it down. They got state troopers out there. They got lanes closed. They got their own strange machines. How